Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLions.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we're looking at NBA best bets here on Monday as we kick off this NBA week with you guys. We also have player props up in a separate episode, so make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along with us all season. Coming off a nice little 5-0 if you took the under in that Indy Golden State game, in addition to Indy to cover 7.5, like I said. We got 5 best bets out there. Also really good in the player props, 3-1. So we're feeling good about this. We talked about this. We're going to hit a stride at some point soon, and then we're going to rattle off a nice couple weeks and get well above that 500 mark. So hopefully you guys are continuing to follow along with us. Let's keep it going, Nate, and get right into your first best bet here for Monday.
Yeah, I feel pretty good here about the Pistons catching 8 at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks are on a back-to-back here. Pistons are not a tomato can by any means, but even just in a void here in this situation, Knicks on a back-to-back, and they're 1-5 against the spread with a rest disadvantage this season. And look at the schedule: at Philly Wednesday, then host the Wolves on Friday in another grudge match. So I think this is clearly like a look-ahead spot to a degree, a bit of a trap spot after blowing up against the Bucks on Sunday. They were kind of struggling before that, right? They were not shooting well. Even after that explosion, they still have the worst above the break 3-point percentage in the NBA in their last 10. Your New York Knicks, who shoot, they're top 5 in terms of percentage of shots coming from 3.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a problem. I think you can get on the right side of regression here. It's always possible the Knicks shoot the other team out of the gym with any team that hoists this many threes. But I think the Pistons, as long as they do a decent job, and the data indicates they can do a decent job on the 3, and that they will do a decent job guarding points in the paint, because that's actually where the majority of the Knicks' points have come while they've been struggling from deep here. Pistons in 9-2 in their last 11, top 5 in paint points allowed, in rebound percentage, as they've been all season. They're number 4 in terms of 3-point attempts, maybe gotten a little bit unlucky that opponents continue to hit them. But most importantly, I think they limit corner threes, 7th in corner threes, 5th in corner 3 percentage. So if Knicks are not hitting these above the break threes, and the Pistons are doing a good job getting to the corners, they should have, a more on the positive side of variance, which we've seen. This is the third meeting. First meeting, Knicks shot 47%, blew them out. Second time, Knicks shot 32%, lost outright. Detroit, if this is close, both of these teams are playing extremely slow, and they're number 2 and number 3 in defensive rating in the fourth quarter. So it could definitely get bogged down and, back and forth, one possession game. And then you're just going to love the fact that you have 8 points, which I don't understand how this continues to rise. I think people are just like, well, the Knicks just blew out the Bucks, but it's a new night. You got to hit all those threes all over again.
Yeah. No, I feel it. I do think it's going to be a weird game, and I still don't trust the Knicks entirely at all. I think the addition of Ausar, as well, has come to fruition. We knew that he would be getting minutes once he actually got healthy with this lineup, and I think he's just such an important part of what they do at this point. He's in a better position than his brother Amin, for instance, who's just got so many guys in front of him. It's like, no, Oscar's got the time to get out there and be pogo sticks. I think a player like him is always going to be massive for a team against the Knicks, because if you're boxing out Cat well enough, then you have to worry about Josh Hart and guys like Amin Thompson, Oscar Thompson, whichever Thompson you want to talk about here. Both of them in the athletic sort of almost smaller 4, but oversized 3 kind of player with some handle and the ability to box out and get to the boards. That's huge to limit the Knicks on those offensive chances when their shooting isn't going well. So I could see this being a bit of a bruiser style game, and that would definitely lead to a better bet on the +8 than taking that points for the Knicks. So I'm going to go under in Memphis, Houston. And I still kind of like Houston to cover, but I'm just going to go with Memphis in Houston this time after Houston won that game in Memphis the other night and played really, 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 really well. And a few bad games for some Grizzlies helped out too. But I'm still going to go with the under 236.5, because if I sort of just, if you go ahead and break this game down and try to, project points, minutes, and how this thing's going to go, but almost player by player, I think it's like 231.5 with what we should be seeing here, especially when you get a little bit of extra defense with Amin Thompson this time, talking about Houston and the way that he's going to be out there. It's less shooting as well without Jabari Smith, which actually increases the amount of shots that we'll probably see for Jalen Green as well, which is another reason why I do like him in the player props episode that we'll talk about, a little foreshadowing there. If you look at Houston in their last 10, 22nd in pace, in their last 5, 26th in pace, and we really, really see that slowing down outside of the minutes that Cam Whitmore is on the floor. Cam Whitmore is a one-man wrecking crew for sure. And his on-off pace is definitely going to pick up the Houston pace no matter what. But he's been back for 10 games. And that's, like I'm saying, those last 10, 22nd in pace, last 5, 26th. And the defensive rating for them as well. Now, they've been a little bit worse in the last 5 against a pretty good strength of schedule as well in their last 5 games for Houston, playing some pretty good teams, 11th strongest in that time frame, including that one against Memphis a few games ago, and still really holding on to that defensive rating as well, like a 9th in the last 10 games against really good comp again. So feeling like they can at least hang with Memphis, and what it comes down to is like hang in terms of limit them, not hang like maybe they'll win. Like I think they have just as good a shot, honestly. It's like 50-50 to be honest, especially with Houston at home. But it's the ability to limit transition. That's really going to be huge for them as well. And their ability to limit offensive rebounds. That's going to be massive for everything you want to do against Memphis, right? And that's what Houston has done really well, especially in the last 5 games, 12th in terms of limiting offensive rebound percentage on defense, and number 1 in forcing turnovers. And that is going to be what I think is the calling card, and what limits the transition points for Memphis is the ability for Houston to turn the other team over, because Memphis is dead last in their last 10, and on the season, 4th worst in terms of turnover percentage on offense. So I don't think they're going to have the ability to get that many points. And with Ja out there, it's just going to be more reckless basketball, which is fine. I'm going to watch the game because it's going to be awesome. But I think Houston will be able to limit them and keep this thing closer to 230 than like 237.
Yeah, bull call. I mean, you'll probably get some better closing line value if you keep waiting, because of course people are going to bet a Memphis over and get this up near 240.
Yeah.
With the last matchup last Thursday, I believe was 237, right? And it did go over
236, I believe, or was it 238?
Last time it was the same total we got right now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one thing I think we can bank on is Houston not shooting that well again.
That's
like it was just everything they put up went in.
Yeah.
They shoot 39% now in 2 games against Memphis from 3. Shoot very poorly from 2, but they shoot 32% against everybody else. And so, like, I think those shots will stop falling. They will be leaning on their defense more. And like you're saying, yeah, with Amen out there, they can probably hold Memphis down below right. their averages and make this more of a grind. Yeah, that all tracks. I'm also going to go under out in LA with the Lakers. There's 2 games in LA as we resume from this wildfire break for the Lakers. I definitely lean towards them winning the game. I know people talked about like distraction, and it can go either way. But I'd say like last week, as the homes are burning, it might be more of a distraction than now. It is like a time to rally around the community to a degree and get a win that way. I could see LeBron having a big performance in that sense. And also, LeBron on 6 days rest is a boon here. But I think the under, which has been bet down to 221 now, 220 and a half. Like I wouldn't go any lower than that. Hopefully you can get it to swing back up. Or you can take the Lakers money line parlay with where it opened at FanDuel. That gets you plus 160. Lakers, they've gotten 4 days rest twice, and they've gone under by 20 points per game in those. They've gotten 3 days rest 3 times, and they've gone 2-1, held the opponent to 100 a game, held them the assists way down, and that's key against San Antonio, right? They need that assisted offense. They need CP3 to kind of orchestrate things, and he won the first mental duel with JJ Redick, right? Those guys were teammates for so long. It'd be interesting to see how their mental wits match, but then clearly lost the second matchup with JJ throwing some stuff at him, and the Spurs only scored 101, and the Lakers only got 10 free throws, and that's key here. I mean, they don't score much if they don't get to the line. The Spurs are absolutely not giving up free throws. Their last 11 here. Now, Dalton Connects started in both of those matchups, Josh. So, like, this is a completely different Lakers team that is playing way slower since they got rid of D'Lo. That's obviously the defensive rating is going to be a little bit better without him and the guys you're able to throw in there. Both these teams are some of the slowest, least efficient teams in the fourth quarter in the NBA. Lakers 16-9 to the under in conference games right now, and in their last 8 in general at home, like the pace is just very slow, but with a 107 defensive rating. So they've kind of changed their identity as Redick has changed that lineup. We know the Spurs can play defense; they can limit you inside and out. and their offense is kind of rough. I mean, they lost Sohan. It's not like a 1-to-1 correlation, but it gets kind of stagnant without him cutting and bringing that energy. And last four, they're barely getting the line. They still can't hit threes, and they go 14-9 to the under as dogs. They've gone under in what 9 of their last 11 in general. So that's why this is gaining steam to the under. But otherwise, like if you can get it when it's a little higher, or just get the Lakers with it, or maybe just take it at 220. Like I still don't think it's that low, considering what the Spurs bring to the table.
Yeah, I think it all makes sense too. I think without Sohan, especially for this Spurs squad, a little bit more Harrison Barnes. We'll probably see some more Keldon Johnson too. I don't really know how to project the lineups without Sohan at this point because of Keldon and HB being healthy and Champagny also getting in there as well. But I do think the defense for San Antonio will come to play enough. I do think the Lakers are a good bet here on rest. I'm kind of just banking on that more than anything. I'm assuming that they've been getting rest despite having to deal with the anxiety that comes with everything going on in LA, and prayers to everybody there, obviously, and thoughts to them so that things get better. It's not done. It's just not done yet down there either. So I don't know how much that's impacting shit, basically. That thing is still raging. So we'll have to see how it goes for the Lakers if they're able to be mentally there. But I think the under is probably a safer play. I would like to take the Lakers with rest in addition to everything. But I'm probably going to end up staying away from this thing entirely. But I would be leaning towards the under before I bet on anything else. So one more under. That seems to be the theme of the day. And I got there with the Dubs and the Raptors to go under 228.5. I think this should be closer to 222, maybe even just 220, to be honest with you. It's not good. Quickly is questionable now as well. A late add to the injury report. Shenanigans continue in Toronto, to be honest, because it's not just is Quickly going to play? Is Scotty going to play? Are they going to give a random day of rest? It's when they even go out there and play. There's this weird your turn, my turn thing going on that I can't really break down for Toronto. One game it's RJ. One game it's not even just the makes. It's the volume. It's the volume of minutes. It's the volume of shots. It's really hard to project for them. But I also know that the guys coming off the bench are good defenders. Like guys like Davion Mitchell coming in is only going to add to the defense for this squad. You're going to get a little bit more Pirtle as a result as well, which is going to be helpful against Golden State. I think he'll have a big game on the boards. But really, this comes down to Golden State, man. It's just not the same team. If you look at them on the road right now, their games are averaging 220. Since Schroeder got there, their games are averaging 217 on the road in the last roughly 15 games. They have a 99 pace on the road versus about 100.3 at home. So another couple extra possessions they're getting when they play at home. And the offensive rating with Schroeder is really what I'm looking at. I'm not sitting here blaming Schroeder, but I am just going to talk crap on the Nepo babies that are in the front office for the Dubs right now, where it was like, that was the move. That was the move right there was Schroeder. That was the move. Okay, well, now you're about bottom 10, bottom 12 in terms of above the break threes at this point, which was the only thing you had going for you, was either the corner three or attacking the rim. Now they're not even going to the rim. They're in the bottom 5 in rim frequency. They're also, as a result, in the bottom 10 in any points in the paint. Since that time where they were attacking things and getting better, they have not been, especially in the last 5. Dead last in free throw attempt rate also sort of writes that story out for you and spells that narrative, which is they're not attacking, they're not getting to it. And there's no Kuminga. They've had limited Wiggins, who they will have tonight, but where's the athletic? Gary Payton Jr. is not even there. There's just no athleticism. There's nobody playing above the rim. And this was the problem from the jump, but you didn't improve the shooting from the outside. So if you can't get to the rim and you have one guy that can score, and you've now lost 3 games this season where Steph hit 8 3-pointers. Like what's the out here? What's the card up the sleeve that they have? I don't know. So I'm not saying they can't win. I would take them to cover 6 points against almost anybody right now, to be honest. I mean, obviously we saw the Detroit game the other night. Detroit much better than Toronto, I'll agree, but still a 3-point win that they eked out there with a couple guys also missing for Detroit. So I have no faith in them if they're not shooting the 3 as well. Their defense has also just completely plummeted because they don't have the down low presence, which is why the paint has been somewhat of a turnstile for them and the opponent specifically. So I have no trust that they can get the numbers up. In their last 10 games, their games are averaging much closer to 220 than 230. So I don't think this should be as high as it is.
Yeah, definitely scary to take an under in Toronto. But I think, yeah, with those guys out, with Kuminga and Pajemski, and I mean, maybe Draymond plays, that would definitely help your under. But I mean, you're mostly just talking shit on the Dubs offense. So their total's 117.5. So like there might be more value just on them than on Toronto. Although, I mean,
Fair.
Toronto has put up some pretty putrid offensive performances, and yeah, whether quickly's in or out, that makes sense. So I guess you got multiple outs here. You just look when Toronto does face a bad offense, I guess like they do kind of hold them under that 120 mark that you need. So I guess yeah, but then they just get completely washed by any like remotely elite
Right.
offensive team. So yeah, it's a bit of a scary one.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I do think it's about the opponent here, and that's why I did focus on the Dubs. I'm not going to bring you some incredible Toronto defensive metrics that'll show how good they are on defense right now, although they have been better limiting stuff in the paint. But once again, it's just about limiting stuff above the break, and you'll be good against a Dubs offense that is just stagnant. So that's all the time we have for you in Best Bets. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along. Check out the player props episode we have up as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.